Anybody that has spent any time with us or in any of our courses know that I freely quote Heraclitus, Greek philosopher, who made the statement that no real learning ever starts without context. I don't believe that there's a successful trader that doesn't have a good understanding of context. Sometimes the traders can't articulate it, but they have internalized it. Prior to reviewing the latter part of Friday, March 27th, I want to review the context from Thursday, the 26th, and overnight. Thursday, the 26th, you will see that the market rallied sharply and left a prominent point of control. And you can see the prominent point of control, but it also sticks out like a sore thumb. And what we say so often, people say, well, how wide does it have to be prominent? And it's not that so much as it's just when you look at it, it is very obvious. And Thursday's point of control was very obvious. Then you saw late Thursday, you saw a huge spike late in the day. We marked the base of that spike. We often refer to the spike guidelines. The spike guidelines are as follows. The base of the spike is support. The weakest situation would be if you open below the base of the spike and continue lower. What that suggests is that prices went high enough to cut off the buying. If you open and trade within the spike, that tells you that that spike is being accepted. The strongest response would be to open and remain above the spike. That would tell you that prices had not gone high enough to cut off the buying. So we end Thursday with a spike. We then start to trade overnight, and you will see that the market opened just slightly, it's the green dot, and it opened just slightly above Thursday's high. Came off a little bit, and then you had one more rally in D period. And then the rest of the trade overnight was lower. So early overnight, we were down below the base of the spike. Now, this video isn't really to talk about overnight trading, other than to say it still is applicable. If you want to go short below the base of the spike overnight, you're welcome to do that. Now remember, if overnight inventory gets too short, you can get a short covering rally. All right, now before we go any further, overnight inventory traded off all night, and you will see that there is a prominent POC from overnight. Notice the prominence of that POC relative to the POC from Thursday during the day. As you come on down, you see that the market continued lower overnight as we are preparing to come into the opening on Friday. So overnight inventory is very short as we open on Friday. When overnight inventory is short, the odds are very high that we will see a correction or counter auction relative to that short overnight inventory. Now, a counter auction, if inventory is short, would be a rally. So when you look at the context getting ready to trade on Friday, we find that overnight inventory is short. We have a very prominent point of control from overnight on Thursday, which also increases the odds that it will be revisited. And we have a prominent point of control from the daytime frame session on Thursday, also increasing the odds that the market will revisit those references. So when you come in and you see price But if you don't look at price relative to the structure of both Thursday and Friday, it can be very difficult in order to keep a sense. When I came in to begin to trade on Friday the 27th, I wanted to be short. That's what my intuition wanted to be short. Yet I wasn't going to go short because I was reading market generated information. And the market generated information is the information that I just discussed with you. So now with that background, understanding where I am psychologically, we are ready to take a look at the day. Now, we're not going to play the whole day. We're going to play the day from the J period in the afternoon through the close. Also, we're going to be talking about a reference that I made on the live commentary, as well as something we've talked about before, which is the importance of sequencing. Additionally, we're going to show the importance of staying with a day like this through the entire session. Several times on this day, I thought about just closing up shop and calling it a week. I didn't do that, although I was tempted. All right, so now what has happened? The House has passed the stimulus bill. The market is short, and we've known it's been short all the way through. But now there's what you're going to see in here is you're going to see a short squeeze. And again, you wouldn't recognize this unless you understood the structural comments that I was making earlier, particularly the point of control from overnight. Notice that the I period high went exactly to the overnight prominent point of control. We would consider that to be a weak reference because of its exactness. I had put out a live commentary a little bit earlier, and what it said in that commentary was the references both above current price and below current price were weak or poor. In other words, at that point in time, I couldn't make a case for the market going higher or lower. Previously, we have talked about the importance of sequencing. What sequencing refers to is what happens first. So for example, what we're going to see in this video, we're starting off and we're saying, okay, both the upper and lower references are either poor or weak. So if, for example, you take out the weaker upper references first, then the odds increase that from a sequencing standpoint, the next thing that will happen is you will come back down and take out the weak or poor lower references. Now, it doesn't have to happen that way, but it is always something that you should keep in mind. It's a consideration. Trading is not easy. It requires that you have an awful lot of pieces flying around that at one time or another don't appear to be connected. But it is amazing by the time the day is over how important that information becomes. All right, so currently we are in J period. So what remains, we have the rest of J, K, L, M, and then the runoff period in N. So Jen, let's speed this up to about 5 times. Well, we're at 3 times now. Let's speed it up to about 5 times. And we'll watch. So as we speed this up, the market, they're selling every little rally. The rally in here is a response to the passage by the House of the stimulus bill, or related to the coronavirus, for those that are watching this at a later date. But we just got done saying that the J or I period high is weak, and weak because it is at exactly at the prominent point of control for overnight. Does it have to go back through that? No. But the odds are, anytime you have an exacting references, the odds are greatly increased that you will trade back through that reference. Now, at the same time, we have poor lower references that suggest that we could trade back down through them. All right, so now we're at 5 times normal speed. We are at 1:15 Central Time, and I believe it's 2:15 Eastern. So if that's right, if it's 2:15 Eastern, you can see where we are relative to the day. Okay, so the market is now continuing. Remember, we're at 5 times normal speed. Let's go ahead and speed it up to about 8 times. Remember the context from the overnight prominent point of control from both Thursday and overnight. The odds are that the market will revisit those. And they're usually a sign that the market is too short when you see it trading down below those references. So we just commented a little while ago that the I period high was weak. Does it have to be revisited? No, but the odds are that it will be. All right. So as we watch this play, getting much later in the day, J period so far is inside I period. So we're about 23 minutes into J period. It's an inside bar relative to I period. So an inside bar, it's a form of short-term balance. So the market, they've tried to sell this market off a few times, and it keeps coming back. And usually that's an indication of short covering. All right, so the market, as we get closer and closer to the 1:30 time, still an inside bar. J is still inside the I period range. Now notice we're just about half back. That little white line is half back for J period. A lot of short-term trading. One of the live commentary posts that I made earlier in the day was because all these references were so exacting, it was an indication to me that mostly what we were seeing all day long was very short-term traders. In other words, the longer term, either buyers or sellers did not appear to be involved. It appeared to be mostly short-term traders. Short-term traders tend to be the weakest of traders that we deal with. They are the traders that will turn and change their positions and then jump on the opposite side very, very quickly. All right, so K period has taken out the I period high, but we have no excess there, no single print. So the odds are still good that we're coming back through that level. And notice just above that is the very prominent point of control, or the prominent point of control from Thursday, which we always said has high odds of being revisited. So we're at what, 8 times speed?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to 10. We're playing this at a pretty rapid speed. So what the feeling I get in here, the high band, is that there's a lot of shorts and they're hanging on. The picture I always have is of a rock climber, holding on by their fingertips, trying to go up the side of a mountain. I used to have a friend that was a world-class mountain/rock climber, and we'd be in his living room, and he'd have his fingertips on the top of the door frame talking to you doing pull-ups. That's how strong his hands were. And that's what this reminds me of, somebody just holding on to the side of that mountain with their fingertips. Okay, so now we went up, we took out the J period high, we took out the I period high, but one more time, traders were selling the rally. They sold the I period rally, they sold the K period rally, and then you look to see what are they getting for what they're doing. A prior partner I had one time talked about, short covering rallies very often are fueled by people shorting into the short covering rally, which just adds more fuel to the fire. And that's what appears to be happening today. And I'm really talking about the exactness of the I period high, then the exactness of the K period high. That's when you see that kind of references, that is usually weaker hands traders. And these are the weaker hand traders that they can be squeezed very quickly in either direction. Okay, so we've got, we're just going to change time periods. We're going over to L period. Okay, so there we go. K has taken out, we said both the I period high, the K period high did not appear to be good. So now notice one more time, the L period high is a single tick below half back from overnight. It is also matching K period. That is another weak reference. That has now been taken out. Okay, remember we're at 10 times normal speed. The next reference to the upside is going to be the base of the spike from Thursday the 26th. So this is later in the day, and this is the shorts and getting squeezed. But notice the lack of confidence. Every rally up, even though it continues to work its way higher, gets shorted. So my guess is that you got the shorts coming in, you got some momentum buying, but at the same time, there is some other activity that really doesn't trust this rally. All right, so now we're going higher in L period. We're 10 minutes into L period. The base of the spike is next. Remember, we talked about sequencing earlier. And we said that neither the upper nor lower references were very secure. Now let's stop one more time if we can. If you will notice, the L period high is just a tick or two below the spike from Friday. One more time, we have traders selling at or just below exacting references. All right, let's go ahead. So the odds are good. We're going to go back up and take out the L period high. Do we know that for sure? No. But also look how strung out the market is. And also continue to record the lack of conviction. We go up, we go down, we go up and we go down. At this point in the day, if we can stop for just 1 second. I said earlier that I forced myself to stay with this day. I had done one small short overnight, and I had done one small short during the day on Friday. And that short during the day on Friday was shown on the live commentary. And I had telegraphed it before the short. And what I had said on the live commentary is that we had an exponential situation. And the exponential situation was that we had two back-to-back poor lows. Exponential means with just a little bit of a push, we can go back down the other way, which we did. So I'd had one small trade overnight. I had one small trade during the day. I had thought numerous times about going home, and I didn't. I know better. I've talked to myself. I've talked to others. Stay with these days because you never know when there's going to be an opportunity. All right, let's continue to play. So we've got about 45 minutes left in the session. We just said that the good odds the L period would be revisited because of its exactness to the base of the spike. So once we get above the base of the spike, The base of the spike yesterday was support. We get above the base of the spike, it becomes support once again. So you can see how we said it would probably take it. So now let's take a look at unchanged from Thursday. It's going to be up above where we currently are. Okay, so you see where we are. See how stretched out this market is. All right, if we can stop for a second. We didn't quite make the settle. Go back to sequencing. And we talked about sequencing. And we had the live commentary that both the highs and the lows were suspect because they were either weak or poor. Weak meaning exacting, poor means no excess. With that, that increases the odds that we will trade in both directions. Okay, let's go back up and see the high before we start replaying. Now, I don't know exactly where it was in here. Jen and RJ have the trade. What you're going to see, and I don't know, we tried to reconstruct the exact time, and I didn't capture it on Friday. When I went to capture the times on Saturday morning, I didn't have the times. It's only my memory at this point. But I believe that when we went back down through the base of the spike, which you're going to see in just a minute, I bought a 24.50 put, if I remember correctly. And I paid 13 for that put. So my risk at that point was $650. The put expires on Monday. To me, the reason I did the trade was the poor references underneath, sequencing, and what I thought was short covering. As you've heard me say very often, short covering weakens a market. When a market has a lot of shorts in it, those shorts actually act as support. Because how do you cover a short? You have to go in and buy. Anytime you have potential buying in the market, it provides support. If you remove that support or that potential buying relative to short covering, it actually can weaken the market overall. So with the poor references, the idea of sequencing, the lack of conviction that this market went higher, even though it went higher on price, think about what we just looked at, how mechanical it was and how stubborn it was at each price. If the market was really freely going up on its own, it's not going to be that hesitant at each one of those prices. So even though price is higher, it looked to me like the confidence was very low, combined with the other things that I have just mentioned. Those other things were the base of the spike is support if we come back down through it. None of the poor references down below the market have been revisited. Short covering has been taken out of the market. Short covering being removed from the market can weaken the market, and this market appears to be very stretched out. Oh, great, let's go ahead and play. So what time, how many times regular speed are we?
We're at 10 speed.
10 speed, okay. So the market did not make it to the settle. We are now back down through the base of the spike. And we said the base of the spike is support. It was support when the day started, and it's support again now. Now you see the market start to accelerate on the downside. And what you're going to see is this market. You're seeing sequencing in action. Now, what are the odds that you're going to see something just like this? Again, they're pretty low. They're very low. However, there's always going to be similarities. The concepts are valid, even though it's unlikely you'll see a day just like this. Although we did see one earlier in the week that was very similar. So this market, volatility in this market's running around the 65 level. 65 level suggests that we will, run between 4 and 5% of the range for the ES or the S&P on any particular day. All right, so now we're down through half back, and we're getting liquidation. So we've come back down, and we're watching this market continue on to the downside. Notice the point of control, how much lower the point of control is. It's right down there about the 25.35 level. It's 25.36, I guess. So as prices went higher, the point of control did not migrate higher, nor did we have a double distribution day. Either you have a double distribution day, then you can consider a new auction. Didn't have that. When the point of control does not migrate higher, remember, another word for point of control is the fairest price. That tells you as price went higher, the fairest price did not. So you see a liquidation coming almost all the way back through the handle. I think the market, the Dow, had gotten down to about 300, and I think we're down now, we're probably down about 900. So you see how quickly that market deteriorated. All right, so this is very late in the session. There's just a few minutes left. Now, as I said, Jen and RJ are going to show you the trade I did. It's a small trade, but I bought the 24.50 put that expires on Monday, and someplace down in this level, I was able to sell the 2400 put for exactly what I paid for the 24.50 put. So I'm long a 24.50. I am short at 2400 against it. One was purchased at 13, one was bought at 13. My risk is 0 at this point. The profit potential would be that it could go from, if it goes all the way down to 24, that would be 50, plus the 13 handles that I got for writing the put, that would be 53, minus the 13 handles that I paid for the original 24.50 put. So this trade could bring, if I did the math right, 40 handles of profit. 40 handles of profit, or $2,000 in there. That's just to throw in something that I took it as decided. I risked $650. Didn't expire till Monday. I thought I'd have a chance to at least salvage something from it. And as it turned out, it's free because the 24.50 was sold at 24, or the 2400 was sold for the same price. So as we see the market end, it is a weak close. Now, notice, this is in the runoff period. Notice the market had an opportunity to complete the outside day, or not an outside day because we didn't trade above Thursday, but it had an opportunity to take out the earlier low from Friday, and it didn't do it. So where we are as we come into the weekend here, we're looking at a 2-day balance. Friday was an inside day relative to Thursday. So now the market has formed a short-term balance. So as we enter the new week, we will look to see if the market can make any headway either above or below the 2-day balance. Anyhow, I want to thank you for this. There are so many pieces involved in this, and it is complex, but this involves real trading. And these are the situations that we are faced with from time to time. Is it easy? No, it's not. Is it real? Yes, it is. Thank you.